Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing today? All right, so day 3 of folders. I just got in the shop, having my coffee and waking up. That's good. Set that there for a minute. So we left off yesterday. Basically, at this point, we've got our roughed slabs ready to go. They're all drilled, pivot holes are reamed, everything is finished profiled for the most part. They're still roughed on the edge. I'll come back in later and clean all that up and satin it up real nice before they get the actual finish on them. But as of right now, let me focus, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and start hitting these all on the flat platen and bringing out any highs or lows that these might have and make the faces of them dead flat. That is extremely important. Okay, so basically I'm just going to hit them right on the platen like this and bring them all to dead flat. It's just like building a house. When you start with a crooked foundation, you end up with a shit house. So you've got to make sure everything's dead, flat, true, and then from that point, you know that everything you do should line up perfect. Because if it's not, say you just leave those pieces like that and go and assemble your knife when you're all done, you're going to have centering issues. And you're going to have, it could be 20 different issues you may have. From your scales, your initial slabs not being true and dead flat. So this is a very, very critical part of the process. And it doesn't take much to throw it off. You know, it could be off a couple thou, and that couple thou can give you a lot of headaches. So I'm going to go ahead and set this thing in the tripod. I got it all ready to rock and roll and shoot a little bit of video here. I am learning, so guys, bear with me. Like I said, but I'm pretty pleased with how yesterday's video turned out. I do have to get some better music for the time lapses though, because Jesus, the ones they give you are just awful. Yeah, so let's hop into it. Catch you guys in a minute. All right, everybody, how we doing? So we're all done. We've got all of our blanks are surface ground now. They're nice and pretty. They're no longer in ugly duckling mode. They're perfectly matching. Everything mates up to, it feels almost like it vacuums together. They're so flat. And that's what you want, okay? So when they come off of surface grinding them, they look just like this. There's no sideways scratches or anything like that. They're dead and flat, and that's extremely important. So now from that point, basically, where we are now is we're going to start center boring and counter boring and drilling and tapping all of our holes, okay? And this brings me to an important point, okay, is your material selection and your hardware selection. Because folders are kind of like a, everything has to correspond, okay? So if one piece doesn't correspond, the whole thing is screwed because you have such small tolerances on these things. So basically, you need to choose a material that's thick enough that it's going to allow your hardware to either A, be countersunk, installation for bearing races, your bearing pockets, any other thing like that is all got to be taken into account for before you even get your material, because you have to order it in the right thickness, okay? So now I know, like, for example, on tie ones I don't have to worry about this, but on carbon fiber, I've got to install a hardened steel race into this scale right here around the pivot for the bearing to ride on. Because without it, it's just not going to work. Okay? So I know that this carbon fiber is 230 thou thick. Alright? This race is 60 thou thick. And my pivot is 100 thou thick, the head on it right here. So when I go to countersink it, I've got to countersink that down 100 thou in order for it to fit flush in the scale. So we've got 230 minus 60 is 170. Then we've got our pivot, another 100. So we're left over with 70 thou worth of material in between the pivot after it's countersunk and this race. And that's about where you want to be. You don't really want to be lower than that, okay? I mean, you can get away with 50 thou, you can get away with probably 40 thou. Okay, but for me personally, I'd rather have a little bit more than that. So 70 thou is about where I like to be. So that's why I choose 230 thou thick material. Now on tie, I don't have to put in a race. Okay, so this I get at 210 thou thick. All right, so basically some guys will do their bearing pockets for all their knives on the handles. I don't. I do them on the blades themselves. Okay, I counterbore the blades. Now there's really, it doesn't make a difference either way you do it. As far as I know, that's just the way that I prefer to do it. So really on tie, it's not such a huge deal. You just want to make sure that you have enough meat in there after you're done counterboring and countersinking and any other kind of thing like that. And that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and start running these through and countersinking everything and counterboring it. And we'll start up again from there. Catch you guys in a few. Alright guys, here we are. So we got our mill all set up. Let's adjust our camera a little bit here. There we go. So now we're going to start basically at this point. And you could start on counterboring whatever you want. You could do your screws, you could do your pivots, you could do whatever you want. But I'm going to start with installing the races on all the show scales that need races, which I forgot to include. The Zerk one also needs a race. Now, very important, and I've done this before, is don't make a lefty knife. And what I mean by that is I left the glue on the faces of these, so I know that this is my show side facing out. Okay, so my race has got to be installed on this side. Don't be a dummy. Okay, I've done it plenty of times. I've got a whole drawer over there full of left side or lefty show scales now because I countersunk or centerboard the wrong side. So basically from this point, we want to turn our DRO on, our digital readout, and we're going to zero it out to the top of this scale material. So we're going to bring it down, and there we are. We're at the top and 0. Okay, and now we know that our hardened race here is 60 thou thick. So we're going to center bore this side down 60 thou thick, or 60 thou depth. And that's going to make it so that when our race goes in there, it sits nice and flush. Alright, so we'll go ahead and turn this on, nice low speed, because you don't want to be speedballing through this thing. And we're just going to keep bringing it down. Now we're first touch right there. And we're going to bring this right down until our readout reads 60 thou. Past 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, and come on, baby, right there, 60 thou. Okay, so now we're going to back it out, and what we've got is a perfect little pocket there. See that? And that's where our race is going to sit in. So now, we take our race, stick that sucker down in there. These are press fit as well. It's going to sit perfectly in there. So I'm going to take this over to the arbor press and press it in there real quick. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Quick pop. And there we go. Got a perfectly pressed fit race. Nice and flush. No issues. And I'll even take it a step further because this is a rough finish on here. And I'll bring it over to that 400 Trizac and bring it dead flat with the rest of this scale. And it'll polish that race as well so that the bearing has a nice smooth track to ride on. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and do that for the other 3 that need to get races installed. And then from there, we'll start going into our center bores for our pivots. All right. So I'm going to pause this now, and I'll bring you back when we get to the pivots. All right, guys. So here we go. We've got all of our races installed. Here's our race on our Zerk. and all of our races in our carbon fiber. Okay, they're all installed. I bring them over and flush them up. Perfect. Okay, and that's what we want when you're installing races. So now I'm going to come through and I'm going to countersink for all my pivots. Okay, so basically I'm going to come through all the show sides on this side, lock sides on this side, and centerboard just like I did for these, but down 100 thou instead of 60. Okay, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and set the camera back up over here so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll start it up again. So here we are. We got all of our show sides countersunk for our pivots at this point, and test fitted so that they're all good, and the suckers line up perfect in there, man. That's what you want. Fit just like that. Sorry, I'm like looking through the damn display on the phone. So those are all set, and now we're going to go through and basically countersink all of our hardware. Okay, so all of our show sides, we've got to countersink this head down. And the way I do that is, I'm pretty sure these are like 140 thou. Nope, is that zeroed out? Nope. 0. I was going to say, that seems oddly big. Yep, right at about 139, so 140 thou is perfect. And I'll give myself a little bit wiggle room, just like I do with the pivot, so I'll bring them down to about 142 or 143. So basically to do that, because remember how we did all these in 1/8 inch bits? These don't fit through an 1/8 inch. Okay, so we've got to come through first with the 5/32 on every one of the screw holes. Then we've got a countersinking bit, a number 6 countersinking bit, which basically this will fit, come on focus, this head will fit in a 5/32 hole, and then the bit itself, I'll get, you can use just these, but honestly they suck. I just use this thing to center my hole. So I'll just come down a little bit, maybe 10-20 thou into it, and I'll do that on all of them. Then I'll switch over to a 1/4 inch end mill, regular standard end mill, and countersink it all the way down to 142. So it's a bit of a process, 3 steps, but makes all the difference in the world, man. And it's all these little tiny details that you guys don't usually see, and all the little tiny things that go into making a folder. And to be honest with you, this is the easy part of it. This is the whatever, you could do this in your sleep part of it. It gets way more complicated, as you're going to see, but I'm going to go ahead and get the mill set up and start shooting this. I'll probably time lapse it all because it's a lot doing the 3 different steps. So I'm going to have at it, and I will get back with you guys in a minute. Alright guys, so here we are. We got all of our show sides all countersunk for our hardware down 140 thou, except for this Zerk scale because it's way thicker. So this one's actually down 200 thou because I'm going to be taking 60 thou off the top of this thing. Other than that, so now I'm going to run them through all of my lock sides through the screw holes with this here bit and start tapping them, hand tapping friggin' holes. I mean, I can do tap holes on the big mill over there, But honestly, I've broken so many doing that I just prefer to freaking hand tap them at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and run all these through with the bit. And depending on what time it is when I get done with that, I may tap those today. If not, I will pick up tomorrow with getting all these holes tapped. And once that's done and the holes are tapped, basically it's going to be starting to contour them all after that. So I'll take them over to the grinder and start knocking off all these edges, contouring everything all the way around on both scales, getting them all set up. And then my lock sides, I'll be cutting the lock bars on them. So you'll get to see that part of the process and the reliefs and all that other stuff. So hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I'm going to run these through and we'll pick up from there. So now I just got done tapping all these, men. They're all tapped. I figured, screw it, I might as well go ahead and do it. And the one last thing I do have to do is I took that Zerk show scale and brought it over here and set it up in the mill. I'm catching legs on everything. I'm going to focus on there. There we go. So that I can take 60 thou right off the top of this thing. And basically I just have it mounted right to this fixture, which I made a long time ago, man, and I just can mount scales right to it for doing inlays or any kind of thing like that. It's a solid workpiece to work on instead of trying to attach it to something else. So now I'm going to just take a 7/16 end mill, run it back and forth, and take some material off of this thing. And that's going to put me in a good spot to start tomorrow with basically just laying out all the lock bars first thing in the morning, where they have to go, and then we'll take them over to the big mill, cut our lock bars. We're not going to cut them all the way, though. We're just going to make our vertical cuts going this way. We're not going to make our horizontal cuts quite yet. So yeah, that's the point where we're going to start at tomorrow and pretty much go from there. After that, it's going to be contouring everything. So we're going to contour it all after that. And then at that point, I think we're going to probably cut our lock bars. Either that or start laying out our blades. One of the two. I don't know. I'll make that call tomorrow. But, yeah, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and machine the rest of this down. I'll shoot a quick time lapse of that. And then we will say our farewells for the evening, gentlemen. Catch you in a minute. Alright, guys. So I got this last show scale, this Zerk show scale. Thinned out nice, took that 60 thou off the top of it on the mill real quick and just ran it on the grinder to smooth it out. Yeah, so I guess we're done for the day. I'm not going to go any further than this for right now. It's getting late and I want to get home. I'm hungry, man. I need fuel. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Tomorrow morning when I get in, I'm going to mark out all these lock bars that need to be cut, and we'll take them over to the big mill and start cutting some lock bars, and you can see how I do that. After that, we're on to contours, which is nice, man, because right now they just look like shiny, blocky slabs, and once they get contours on is when they start really looking like something. So I'm pretty excited for that, and that's like one of my favorite parts of doing them is contouring them. It takes a lot of time, and you burn through a hell of a lot of belts, but they really start coming into their own at that point. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to head the hell out of here. I hope you guys have a great evening. I hope you're enjoying these videos. And I'm going to shoot some more tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Later.